Am I the a-hole for yelling at my husband's mother for announcing my pregnancy using my husband's Facebook account? I, female 23, found out that I was pregnant very recently. It was not planned and my husband and I are trying to make a decision regarding going through with the pregnancy. Here's the thing, I told him to not tell anyone but he ended up telling his mom but made her swear that she won't tell. He didn't tell her we aren't sure about it but just to stay quiet. Well, she begged and begged that she announce it on her Facebook under the guise of using our permission, but I said absolutely not and lied and said my husband and I wanted to announce it ourselves later if we decide to go through with it. Just a day ago I found out she logged into my husband's Facebook account and dropped the bomb, made the announcement, and yes, she pretended to be my husband, behind our back. I was floored. I called her and she said she figured if she made the announcement using one of our social media accounts then we won't mind and it'd still look like we made the announcement. But like I stated earlier, we're still trying to make a decision. I lost my temper and yelled at her, which made her cry. I said she overstepped and messed up completely, then hung up. My husband came into the room yelling about my poor treatment and abuse towards his mom. I told him his mom violated our privacy and put us in more pressure to finally make a decision for the baby since the family are now calling to say congratulations. He said that it was his FB so none of my privacy was violated and that I shouldn't have yelled and hurt her feelings and made her cry no matter what, period. He demanded I apologize and we'll talk about the pregnancy later, but I didn't give an answer and refused when he tried to force me to go to her house and grovel with apologies. Am I the asshole? Am I the asshole for humiliating my boyfriend's brother at family dinner? So I, 25 female, have been dating my BF, 29 male, for 8 months. I moved to the US 2 years ago and met BF at work. I mention this for context. All is good so far. Then a week ago he said he wants me to meet his family. I agreed and honestly I was nervous and giddy about it because I felt like everything was going really smoothly and was excited about where it was going. He called his parents and they were really excited to meet me, so we decided to make it a weekend. His parents have a spare room so they offered it to us. When we got there I was greeted with hugs from mother-in-law, sister-in-law, and her wife, sister-in-law wife. His father-in-law gave me a stern pat on the back, but he seems like a reserved type of man, so I took it as a good sign. I then met one of his 2 brothers, 19 brother-in-law. The other worked on Saturdays so he would only be here for dinner. We sat down and chatted. They got me real British tea and slippers and it was going really well. Then it came down to dinner. It's hot and I am in a summer dress. So that's when Mike, 26 male, came home. He lives with his parents after a nasty breakup with his ex a year ago. Boyfriend told me she screamed at him on Christmas for being a controlling sexist asshole. She kicked him out of their apartment. Boyfriend introduced me. Mike looked me up and down but didn't say anything but nice to meet you. I brushed it off. Halfway through dinner, the convo is flowing nicely and I feel comfortable. Then Mike out of the blue asks if I'm pregnant. Now I'm what people call meat-sized. Kudos to my boyfriend who choked on his food. He got really upset by that comment. I replied with a laugh and said no. Boyfriend was staring daggers at Mike who was staring at me. Then he said, boyfriend has never dated a fat girl before. I was so shocked my mouth went dry. Everyone kind of sucked in air and froze. I think everyone was too stunned to speak because we were all frozen and staring. I was staring at Mike when he looked down at my breasts and continued. And you're showing a lot of skin. I'm not sure if he was trying to haze me but that did it. I laughed so loudly that a few people jumped. You'd think a 26-year-old man living with mommy and daddy would learn not to judge people, but then again, your girlfriend kicked you out for being a piece of shit, so what do I know? Sister-in-law wife and brother-in-law laughed. Everyone else was shocked. Mike got angry, stood up and told me fat girls shouldn't judge people. So I told him that neither should a man with a micro. Easy to say dinner was ruined. Mike got up and stormed out of the house. Sister-in-law and sister-in-law wife stayed to clean up and boyfriend took me to our room to calm me down. He told me what I did was justified. The next day was just boyfriend, me and his parents. Brother-in-law is hiding in his room after an awkward breakfast. Mill is worried because Mike didn't come home and won't answer calls. Mother-in-law won't look at me. We left shortly after breakfast and father-in-law rubbed my back, but I got no hugs from mother-in-law and I know I overreacted, but am I the asshole? Am I the asshole for driving my stepson to my husband's friend's wedding after he expected me to stay home and watch him? My husband's friend got married few days ago. I couldn't go because of work and my husband said the wedding is child-free and his family were all attending, so he asked me to take time of work and stay home with my stepson. I already said no and suggested he get a babysitter, but he said no babysitters because my stepson tends to act out with them and cause troubles, but he adores me and we both get along well. I told my husband work is important and I can't take time off. He begged and pleaded but I said it wouldn't happen. He said fine, he'd figure it out. But the day of the wedding I discovered that he left my stepson home. I called his phone and he answered telling me to miss work and just stay with my stepson. I said no and he needed to deal with the situation he caused. He said no. I threatened to drop his son off at the wedding and he told me to suck it up. I got dressed and drove my stepson to the wedding. The second my husband saw us, he went off on me. I told him I was late and was about to leave. He said I can't leave his son there, they'd both be kicked out, but I turned around and walked out after telling him it's his problem. I left to work, and after I got back later he blew up at me saying I failed to do one thing he asked and behaved pathetically. I said that he put me in this situation and I was feeling helpless and pushed. He said that he couldn't believe I was willing to dish my stepson and said that I'm not stepmom material and have no sense of responsibility whatsoever. We haven't been on good terms since then, and he keeps on blaming me he had to leave the wedding and go home with his son. Am I the asshole for forcing my nephews to wear diapers? Ever since my brother, 30 male, moved out to start living with his family in another city, I, 25 male, have been living alone in my parents' house. Both of parents went to another country to work and visit 2 to 3 times a year. My brother has twin boys, 4, and brings them over almost every week. He leaves them to stay overnight, usually Friday/Saturday or Saturday/Sunday, with me so he can have some fun with his wifey. I love my nephews and don't mind babysitting them at all, but gotta admit they can be a little too much sometimes. So, the other weekend when they brought them over, Tara, brother's wife, told me that they are, apparently, fully potty trained, had no accidents whatsoever and no longer need to wear diapers in bed, so I should just let them sleep in underwear. I did what I was told, and as you can guess, they had an accident in my bed. I'm not sure if both of them did it, or just one, but both of them were soaking wet. Apart from wet sheets and clothes, no bigger damage was done. For some reason I never took off the plastic wrapping around the mattress. I told Tara what happened and she just said that accidents happen and that I should have made them go to bathroom and not give them anything to drink before going to bed. Last weekend they brought them again. I asked Tara if she brought diapers for them and she said, with raised voice, "It was an accident, it won't happen again, trust me," and ran back to the car. Night came and I was like, screw it, I don't want to deal with mess again. Managed to find some old diapers tucked away and had nephews wear them. It wasn't a great fit since they outgrew them, but something is better than nothing. Apart from one soggy diaper, it went great, until I told Tara about it. She literally yelled at me, saying that I'm fricking it up for forcing her children to wear diapers, that it will bring back the bad habits and it wouldn't be a big deal if they had an accident in bed again. Tried reasoning with her, but she just called me a dumb asshole, before saying that she'll never bring the kids again and storming off to the car. I looked at my brother, who was standing nearby, and it seemed like he was trying hard to keep a straight face. He followed after her and when he got to the car, he yelled, "See you next week." Am I the asshole? Am I the asshole for helping my daughter during a vulnerable time against my wife's wishes? I, 36 male, have a 13-year-old daughter whom I have been extremely close to her entire life. When she was first born, I was the one who stayed at home because her mother was anxious to get back to work not even a week after she was born. We spent every moment together that we can when I'm not working and are always going out for our adventures, walking on bike tracks, or going for ice cream, etc. My wife on the other hand is always too tired to spend time with her. This has been an excuse every day since she's been born and has hardly ever spent any time with her. Well, recently she has started her first menstrual cycle and instead of going to her mother, who was home at the time, she came to me. I showed her how to use a pad, gave her some, and offered to go shopping for some the next day. She seemed happy enough, and went on her way. Her mother asked me what that was all about and I told her that my daughter had her first cycle and wanted to know how to use products. Well, wife is now furious with me. She's saying that a mother's job, and she should have asked her instead of me and no isn't talking to me. I said if she felt comfortable talking to you, she would have asked you, but you're never around and never spend any time with her, and she responded that she's busy working. I said I am too, but I always have time. She said she doesn't and doesn't always want to spend time with a child and would rather spend time with adults and have drinks and have a conversation with them rather than childish conversations. I told her that's why she felt comfortable asking me and not her, and now she's accusing me of inappropriate behavior towards her. Am I the asshole? Am I the asshole for leaving a note that says stop stealing my food at work because someone keeps stealing my food out of the fridge at work? I usually go out to eat during my breaks at work, but I've been trying to stop spending so much money on food, so I've started packing leftovers to eat at work. I leave my food at the shared fridge at work and occasionally I'll find my food missing. I hate confrontation and didn't want to ask all my coworkers who was stealing the food. It didn't happen again for a while, but last week I brought food from home again, left it at the fridge and it went missing, so the day after I put a sticky note with my name and a note that said stop stealing my food. My food wasn't stolen this time, but a few of my coworkers said that leaving a passive-aggressive note was inappropriate and that it was creating a toxic work environment. Lol. I told the coworkers who raised the concern that someone has been occasionally taking my food and I was fed up with it, and they said that I should have just asked who it was instead of leaving a note like that, or that I should have just put my name on it without the extra note. Am I the asshole for leaving the note telling whoever has been taking my food to stop? Am I the asshole for not putting my boyfriend's name on the mortgage? Am I the asshole for not putting my 29 female boyfriend's name, 30 male, on the mortgage? Little background, I just moved back home from a large city to a smaller city, closer to family for a better job. My boyfriend is currently in the larger city where we rent a townhome while he's trying to find a job so he can follow me. I'm currently looking to purchase a home in this terrible buyer's market. My dad is insistent on buying so I don't keep on wasting money on renting, but the market is really bad here. I found a house that I'm obsessed with, outside of my budget, but my dad is offering to help with the down payment significantly, allowing me to just repay him over time. My boyfriend won't be putting any money down on a payment. My boyfriend said that if his name isn't on the mortgage, then he refuses to pay me rent when he moves down here and in with me. He also thinks that I shouldn't buy a house right now since the market is so terrible, and he doesn't know if we'll like the area yet, since I've only grew up here and haven't lived here since I was a child. I feel like he's being really controlling over this issue, but I'm trying to see it from his side, as well. He's getting his grandmother's ring reset to propose, and he's really making the effort to move down here. I know he feels left out on the process, but I guess I just don't understand why he can't wait to be put on the mortgage until we're married. Am I the asshole for causing the eviction of roommate by reporting her? I, 20 female, am an international student currently residing in my university's dormitory. At our university residence there is a policy that if a student actively helps out in school events, some of the fees for residence can be deducted. Uni residence is also subsidized if you have a scholarship. As an international student, external housing go for exorbitant prices that do not fit my budget, so it is not very practical or easy for me to move out. My issue started with the roommate I was assigned to. She is literally a roommate from hell. This roommate, I'd call R, is also an international student. At first things were still manageable, but slowly she started engaging in really weird behaviors. Some of it include taking my groceries, and no, I am not heartless. If she was low on funds I'd be happy to help. However, in addition to the groceries she buys, also steals mine, especially the snacks I buy. Same for my clothes, she steals and never gives back. When I approach her about it, she lies and tells me she didn't take it when I have evidence of wrappers lying around in her room or my clothes in her room. Secondly, she does not clean up after herself. We have a common bathroom and there is literal shit stains, period residue or urine on the toilet seat which she does not wipe up, and I end up doing it for her. Same thing with leaving her hair all over, taking my toiletries without permission. One time I found her used pad on the basin, which was very disgusting, and she told me she simply forgot to clean up. She also has a terrible habit of snooping through my leisure laptop and journals to the point where I have no choice but to carry them with me. One day when I came back my posters were ripped apart, and apparently she did it because I confronted her the other day about cleanliness. She invites her BF to our dorm to drink and plays music extremely loudly, making it hard for me to concentrate. I have written several emails to my dorm manager, but it has been useless. She comes once in a while to talk to my roommate and then simply says it is about understanding and compromising, even though I have told her about all this. So this time round I wrote a detailed email to both the international student relations consultant and also the head of student affairs. Turns out they took it very seriously, and because she has had a history of accumulating demerit points, I found out I'm not the first roommate to experience this. They are kicking her out of the dorm as per university policy. As terrible as she is, I feel bad because being an international student I know how hard it is to find housing, and she thinks I'm the asshole for making her rush to find accommodation. I didn't know she'd be kicked out. I simply wanted them to give her a warning or give her another room, but because they were also at their last straw cause PPL have complained before me, they kicked her out. Am I the asshole, or was I justified? Am I the asshole for not paying for another wedding for my daughter after she blamed me for her first one getting ruined? I paid a large part of my daughter's wedding. This included venue and catering. Unfortunately, during the wedding, my stepson passed away from a health issue. It was a very traumatizing situation, and almost all the guests left before my daughter could walk down the aisle. My daughter did end up getting married privately, and only my ex and my mother were there to witness it. I was at the hospital. I'm still not really mentally recovered from the situation, and I'm also dealing with a lot of guilt over what happened. My daughter was never close to her stepbrother and is angry that I even made her invite him. She now wants me to pay for another redo wedding. I feel terrible, but I don't feel comfortable spending another 25 to 30k. And I don't even know how to talk to my wife about potentially paying again. Am I the asshole if I say no?